welcome everybody. This is Molly and Jana. We are from Pride in Surrey and we use she, her pronouns. You may have seen us before. Today we are back for Lesbian Visibility Week. Fantastic week. We've got loads of content and we are sharing everything we love about the lesbian community. So today we've got a very special guest. Her name is Naomi Bennett, and amongst many other things, she is the CEO and founder of LesFlicks, which has, as you can imagine, has just steamrolled through the lockdown and the pandemic. So she joins us today, and we're going to talk a little bit about what she's been doing. So let's welcome Naomi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. We are so excited.
Thank you.
Obviously, we are here to talk about your fantastic organizational platform, the LesFlicks. But before we do that, we want to talk about you a little bit because you just seem like such an interesting person. And I told you before when we had a conversation, you just simply don't look old enough to have done all those things that I read on LinkedIn. It took me 2 days to read it. You're absolutely fantastic. I am impressed. You have done so much. So I was hoping maybe before we talk about LesFlicks, you tell us a little bit about yourself, if you can.
Yeah, so I guess I've always really been driven since I knew I was a lesbian. Well, to start with, I didn't even know what a lesbian was, but since when I found myself and worked it out, and I've always been really passionate about my community, and I've always noticed that there's been a bit of a disconnect, and it's been quite a community that's quite isolated, disconnected. And so I guess just around my day job, which was paid the bills but very unfulfilling, I've always found ways to do things. I guess it's my version of volunteering, but I never found anything that really supported the grassroots ground, like basically everyday lesbians who really kind of make the community live. And so I ended up basically trying to fill that hole, and it originally started with Planet London, which my friends used to message me and say there was nothing on a Friday night, and there were 10 events, but what was happening was they were all over the place. So this was a bit kind of before Facebook really took off. So just you turn up at a venue and didn't know it had moved, or or that it had closed down. So it started off as an events calendar, and then as the community grew, we took on events like book reviews, film reviews, theatre reviews, and it just kind of grew and grew, and then it kind of went national as well. But during that, I went to BFI Flair a lot in London, and I've always loved film. I studied film in college, and then realised I needed a job that paid the bills and had to put that to one side. But I guess it's always been in the back of my mind, and I always loved Flair. So when I was looking at what to do in 2016, I kind of had been through a lot of life change. A marriage ended, my mum had been sick for a number of years and passed away. I'd left my corporate role for a bit and then wasn't really sure what I was doing. I guess I was going through a bit of an early midlife crisis in a sense, just because so many things had happened. I was just at a junction, and I loved Planet Nation, but it was just the lesbian community was too big. Like, there were hundreds of books being released, hundreds of films, hundreds of plays on, so many events, and you just couldn't keep on top of it, and no one wanted to pay to advertise to lesbians only because we're too niche, and so it was just unsustainable, or I was going to bankrupt myself. So I kind of took a step back and then was like, well, what do I love, what am I passionate about? And I just realized that lesbian film really kind of spoke to me, and a lot of what I've learned in my corporate background is, I've been secretarial, EA, PA, so lots of good skills around kind of organisation. I'd also set up a lot of LGBT networks along the way through different corporates. So I guess I took all the different pieces of what I'd learned. Like, I'm quite comfortable in a room full of CEOs and I'll talk to them. I won't be kind of like scared. I think I'm the same with celebrities, really. They're just people. Everyone's just people. They're just given a title. They're still human. So I think I just took all these kind of skills I'd learned over the year, all that passion, and LesFlicks was what came out of it, and it's just been a whirlwind ever since. That came to life at BFI Flair in March 2019, so it's still relatively new. Most of its life has been in lockdown.
I was going to say, how have you managed? Like, what did you have? Like, the first year was sort of physical events and everything, and then it's been locked down ever since.
Yeah, so the first 9 months, LesFlicks kind of launched itself. At BFI Flair, we heard that, you know, you needed to get people into the room to show there's an audience. And straight after Flair, BFI had a lesbian film screening. So we're like, oh, quick, let's fill seats. Let's do a pop-up film club. And then everyone kept approaching us. Do you want to do a collaboration? Do you want to do a screening? We did Manchester Pride. We did some collaborations in East London. And, you know, in 9 months of 2019, we did 74 film screenings of shorts and features at 34 events. We filled 830 seats with no audience. And, you know, so it was a really good start. And 2020 was a crazy start. In the first 9 weeks, we did 10 film clubs in London alone, because apparently every cinema likes to put on lesbian films in January. I think there's less films released, so it's like it's a good time. It's a low risk because people don't really go out too much, so it tends to be a really kind of busy time. So actually there was no breathing time, there was no thinking time. It was just like, you know, and we had about another 8 scheduled all the way running up to BFI Flair in March, and I was literally sitting there going, how am I going to focus on the streaming platform? There's so many events. And people had kept saying to me, you need to do one or the other. You either do the events or you do the streaming platform. I'm like, no, they support each other. One won't survive without the other. Oh my God, am I glad that I didn't listen to anyone? Because, you know, overnight, all my events that I'd been focusing on were gone, and all I had was the streaming platform. And, you know, and I didn't even know Zoom existed at that time. Now I live on it. But yeah, it was crazy. 23rd of March was a bad day, but a good day, and I think there's been a lot of positives.
Yeah, absolutely. So going back to the beginning, how did it start? How did you start it? The LesFlicks? Was it just your idea? Was it a few of you got together, or? No,
me and my girlfriend Victoria were talking about it for a while. We'd been to BFI. I'd taken her to BFI Flair the year before under Planet Nation as press, and she'd loved it. She loves films. She doesn't like lesbian films with an acoustic guitar though, which is a lot of lesbian films apparently. We seem to work out, but she loves film. So we were just talking about it, and we just brainstormed. We came up with a name. We spent ages though trying to come up with a name that didn't use lesbian in case people didn't. And we walked ourselves around in circles, and we realised it's about the film, not the people, and therefore LesFlicks does what it says on the tin. It helps you find lesbian films, which is, even when you're looking for a bisexual film, you're probably going to search lesbian film because it's the search term that brings up the results. So, you know, we spent probably about a month just ruminating on the name and trying to think about the politics of the word lesbian. It's ridiculous when you look back. But anyway, so yeah, we just kind of thought about it. I just had 2 key conversations really. I spoke to someone at BFI Player and asked them why there weren't many lesbian films on the player. And they said that the quality wasn't always there in the content. And I was like, well, yeah, but if no one supports the films when they're first made, that filmmaker's never going to be able to increase the quality, and they don't have the budgets that other films have. And I kind of listened to myself and was like, that's a really good point, actually. I should probably take that on board and think about that. I tend to do that. Most of my best ideas come from talking about them. And then
to yourself. Fantastic.
Yeah,
I love this.
Yeah. And then the other one was actually at BFI Flair. They had a really good panel discussion with a load of distributors about, you know, distribution, and it was really positive. And there were big distribution companies. There was like Channel 4 there. And then the first question from the audience was, what do I do when you all say no to me? And I was like, oh my God, genius filmmaker over there. Because obviously you had a lot of short filmmakers and a lot of new filmmakers, and it's true, you know, most films don't get distribution. It's you know, it's a small proportion that do. And the advice was to just go out and distribute your film on your own. And I was like, that's really bad advice. That filmmakers just put all their life into their film. They've probably got no money left. They probably have to go back to their day job. They're not marketing people, they're filmmakers. And also, we watch more than one film a year. We watch more than one film a day sometimes. And telling everyone to do it themselves from scratch every time is just really inefficient. And then I was like, it just makes more sense to have everything together and to have more of a collaborative approach. And that's really what I do anyway. I like to collaborate. I like to, you know, link up. So I was like, I think there's something we can do here. You just need to put everything in the same place and have everyone pointing to the same place. And if they all talk about each other's films, it will spread the word more easily. And although there's an overlap, everyone will have a different audience, and that will bring the audience together. And I was like, well, yeah, of course. So within 6 months, LesFlicks was a real thing, and we took it to BFI Flair. And we published 100 articles while we were on the South Bank at BFI Flair.
Yeah, some of your achievements in the first like year, 18 months have just been fantastic. There clearly is an audience, isn't there? It's just about connecting all those things together.
And my motto is, like, well, first of all, so you can sleep when you're dead. It's not a good motto. Don't follow my advice, but it does help. But also, every time someone came to me and said, do you want to collaborate or can you do this? I just said yes and then made it happen. I think a lot of people tend to be scared and go, oh, I haven't really got the time. I don't know if I have the skills. Oh, I'm not sure if I know enough to do that. And that's why things don't change. You sometimes have to take a leap of faith. And so every single time someone said, do you want to do this? I was like, yeah, sure. So I've learned a lot.
I think if you're not lazy and you're a hardworking person, just you can achieve anything if you just really try.
Yeah, we've learned through lockdown ourselves. We've really pushed ourselves with kind of like, we would never have talked on a screen or interviewed somebody or gone out of your comfort zone, because we're all really guilty. A lot of us are guilty of kind of sticking in that little comfortable bubble, aren't we? And actually, you can really learn so much and just learn about yourself by putting yourself out there. So that's fantastic.
And we still get nervous. Like, we were so nervous about talking to you because like you've done it so many times. We've watched some of your interviews. And obviously you're just so confident at talking. I mean, we talk a lot, we do cook along and stuff, but don't interview as many people, so we still get nervous. But we knew that you're really good at talking, so that made it much easier. So that's great. One thing we watched it also last night, not all of it because we were a little bit busy, but on the Facebook you did the interview with some
zombie
Nemesis. Yeah, dating in the zombie apocalypse.
That sounded so interesting. Like, I really want to check that out.
Yeah, it's a short series, so they're only like little 5-minute episodes, and there's 3. So it's it's again low budget. Time equals money, but she did leave it open. She can do more episodes, which I think is exciting. But yeah, no, really, really fun little series.
Without mentioning any names of films or anything, I think a lot of us have started watching a movie and gone. A lesbian movie and gone, this is not good, and you sit through it because you feel like you should watch it because it's a lesbian movie, so we'll watch it and we'll support it. But yeah, you can tell that it was done with with a low budget, and it's just not as good as it could be. And so what you're doing is fantastic to put that money back into the industry. Oh my God, it's what someone should have done years ago, so well done you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a real issue. What I think I knew there were some problems. I didn't realize quite how deep those problems were. It really comes down to a lot of things. We're an invisible audience. We're hard to reach. Lesbian, bi, queer women, we don't have spaces to come together. The only place you can really find us in mass numbers are in Facebook groups, and they're quite chaotic, to say the least, because even with admin, there's only so much you can do to control several thousands of women, half of which are single, most of which are isolated. It's chaos. We're just hard to reach. We're invisible, and we're very different as well. Like, you've got within the lesbian, bi, queer women's community, we've got students, you've got unemployed, you've got retired, you've got black, white, Asian, everything in between, you've got religious, you've got atheists. We all live different lives. People who've been to university, people who own businesses. So we're really hard to target and to market, and I think that's what makes it really hard. But then all you have to do is find that thing that you have in common, and then what that does is separates out and brings together a proportion of that group, and they can be really diverse, but you have something in common, and that's what film does. It brings people together over the love of what they're watching on screen. The challenge is, at the moment, investors basically turn around and say, oh, there's no paying audience, and it's unfortunate that that's driven slightly by piracy, because we're so desperate to see good representation that when we find a film, we share it without thinking where it came from, if it's legal. And also because the films aren't available. Like, there's a really good film called White Lie that just came out in February, and it's a really good film. It's not available in the UK. You won't have heard of it because in the UK it's not got distribution, but it's been out in the US since February. So we've got it for the US. You can watch it if you have a VPN, but again, people don't really necessarily understand the legalities, and so a VPN versus piracy are very different. A VPN is a legal way to put yourself in a different country. Piracy is just illegal, and you have AVOD now, which is where you can watch it for free, but you watch adverts, and that blurs the line even more with piracy. So it's all very complicated. But I think for me, it's just making it easy and straightforward. And by bringing everyone together in one place as well, you're able to show that audience. So when that investor says there's no audience, that filmmaker can turn around and go, well, actually there is, and there's a platform there who will take my film. So can we have another conversation, and let's, and hopefully we will change that narrative so that we won't have to keep doing crowdfunders, because it's really hard to raise the money. I would say with lesbian film in specific, you do have to watch it through a certain lens. You can't be looking for a Waitrose quality product when you've got the budget of Lidl's. So, and that is the challenge. I say to look to the story, look to the the potential, and if you watch it and you support it and you look at it in that kind of sense, Carol is your Waitrose level. It had a massive budget. Even that took a number of years to get made. It wasn't easy. Some of these films, like Forever Not Maybe, took 5 years to film because they didn't have the money, and it's really soul destroying. But now that filmmaker's making loads of shorts, like one at Christmas, one in February, because there's somewhere to put them, which you can get straight to our audience. That's really exciting for me, that I've seen filmmakers collaborating and taking risks. We just as an audience have to get behind them. If you like it, tell everyone. If you don't like it, just don't say anything, because not every film's for everyone. But the damage you can do with your social media is huge.
Oh God, yeah.
We are very influential. If you say to your friend, oh my God, I've learned a big thing. When you say to your friend, oh, I didn't like that film, your friend won't watch it. And I was like, that's crazy, because you've got different tastes. But as lesbians, we trust each other intrinsically around things that are queer. So if you say, oh yeah, I didn't like that film, there are people that won't watch a film because their friend said they didn't like it. And I don't think we necessarily realise just how influential we are in our friendship groups with our social media, where we just throw away a comment about not liking something.
Talking about being influential when it comes to film. So my idea of things is watching the heterosexual films. A lot of times we love them, we're lesbians, but I don't mind watching a good heterosexual film. I absolutely love it. And obviously I would like heterosexual people to feel the same about the lesbian or gay films. And I make sure we have a friend, and straight, married, with kids. I said to her, why don't you watch It's a Sin? It's really good, because a lot of straight people won't watch It's a Sin because they know it's about gay men and whatever. And she watched it, and she binged watched it, and she was fantastic. And I think, she then probably passed it on to her friends who are heterosexual, and that's how it spreads, isn't it? And that's what I attempt to do with lesbian films. I'm always like, oh, you need to watch this. I know it's lesbians, but you might like it. And to be honest, lesbians, I feel they come across really sweet and cute, and it's very romantic, and it's lovely. I don't see why a heterosexual person can't enjoy that kind of movie.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of heterosexual women do watch lesbian films. Interestingly as well. So do a lot of straight men, but that's a whole other topic. But no, I think there's a difference between mainstream content made and content made by a lesbian, bi, queer woman for a lesbian and queer audience. It's kind of similar to the corporate world. There's a really famous iceberg picture they use for like management, where they say managers see the tip of the iceberg above the water, and all the employees see the bit below the water. That's kind of how TV and film work. So on mainstream channels and in mainstream releases, we see the films that cover the tip of the iceberg, our lives where they interact with the mainstream. But actually what I think we're craving deep down is more of the below the surface, how we interact day to day, not coming out stories we know can come out now, but living happily, having families, going through actual just life stuff, but showing us on screen. Those films don't tend to make it into the mainstream because they don't have enough overlap into the mainstream. Something like It's a Sin is typical above the surface, and it's really relevant, and it's so important to have that on screen. It didn't really give lesbians enough visibility. We were very invisible on that, which is unfortunate. But there's a really good short film on LesFlicks called Odd Girls, and it's about exactly the same time, exactly the same period, but it's a lesbian woman. A lot of people do that when I'm on Zooms as well. They always have pen and paper. It's from Ellie Jo Hilton, and it's basically a short film about a lesbian who looks after a gay man dying of AIDS. So it's exactly the same story, but it's a short film. It's a student film. It's really good, but it just shows from a different perspective. So those stories are out there. The problem is, if they don't contain celebrities, they don't get talked about, and that's why we're important as an audience to talk about these films, because no one else is. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of lesbian and bisexual films out there, but you won't know the names of 70% of them, because they don't get into the papers, they don't get into the media, they don't get into press. Even with celebrities, like we're releasing Rainbow's End, and that's got Janelle Snow, Amanda Powell, it's got Sean Young in it, Ed Asner. I'm struggling to get lesbian press for that film. It's just disappointing, because it's a really good story, and that's a film actually that should translate across audiences as well, because it's got like adoption as a theme. I mean, hey, heterosexual couples adopt. There's a woman running for mayor, so you know, women in strong powerful positions. She runs her own law firm, so there's lots of really interesting parts to that story, and I hope it will get out there into the world a lot more. But I think it's mainly going to be through us sharing it rather than the media, predominantly, really.
Hopefully it's all little stepping stones, isn't it? And actually the more visibility you do have, and I love the fact that there are so many short films and short movies that are being aired on your platform, because actually, like we're saying about budget, must be a massive consideration for these people. There's so many talented people that want to create something, and actually making a 2 or 3 hour movie is just so far in the distance. So if you can make like a little something, we were saying, we watched a couple of things recently, would have loved them to be a bit longer, but actually when we get talking, you realize how much time and energy goes into filming them, and actually it might only be 15 minutes, but it's probably taken a long time to produce.
Yeah, I just filmed a short recently with Wicked Winters Productions. I'm trying to get back on set a lot more, so I helped out as first AD on that, and I think it's like a 3-minute short max. We spent an entire day filming, and that was actually is a promo short, so that should come out, and it's to promote their feature, which has been, I think, about a year in production, still not out. So yeah, but financially as well, shorts are much, you can do a lot more with a short, you can be a lot more creative. They're much more community centered, and I think you can get them to market a lot easier. So there's definitely a preference. I quite like shorts. They tend to leave them open to the imagination on what happens next, and that means more people like the ending. Generally, it's not so finite and wrapped up. And a bit more interesting. You're like, what happened next? And that just leaves your imagination, which is quite nice.
We were left with that last night, the short film we watched. I don't know if we can name it. Or
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, name it.
Was it Big Date?
No, was it A Date?
A Date. Emily L. Hadley, The Dates. Yeah. No, amplify the film. Name the film, of course. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
There you go. So it was, I think it was done, it was such a good quality. When we started watching it, I was in London and we were so excited. It was really, really well done. And yes, it was a short film. And yes, it's very much left the end very open to imagination. And the imagination with that could just take off. But I thought it was fantastic. And you can then perhaps just think of your own ending for that.
Well, I quite like that actually, because we don't often get a chance to sit down and watch a whole movie. We just never have enough time. So often, Jana will watch one while she's at work, and if I happen to have
you can't say that. I never watch movies at work.
What? Give us downtime.
I do work night shifts, and sometimes they can be a bit long, so I do watch a short movie.
You might want to go for a couple of nights.
Well, the thing is, I am now definitely going to subscribe to LesFlicks. Because I've looked that up, and actually it's not very expensive, it's doable, it's easy to subscribe, and it's so much more than just the films as well. So I will support you 100% and subscribe. So that's what I'll be doing.
It's the representation, isn't it? You actually want to see your life on screen, and we're slowly seeing and by platforms like yours actually more representation, and we can actually understand our own lives, which is really lovely.
Yeah, and seeing how diverse they are as well. There are a few films we have that aren't on the subscription, and it's worth explaining that as well, because we do get some people get confused. Sometimes you don't get subscription rights to films, and particularly if it's brand new, there's like a hierarchy to cinema release. Who knew this? They start in a cinema, although ironically, this makes me laugh as well. In the pandemic, all these filmmakers are suddenly up in arms. Oh my God, there's no cinema. I was like, welcome to lesbian film.
Yeah,
we struggled to get in the cinema for many years now. This is nothing new to us. Like, you know, welcome. It's not nice, is it?
So you're well equipped.
Yeah, exactly. So but yeah, so they start in the cinema, then you have a bit of a window where it's not available, and then it goes to digital. But often it goes to digital as a rental first, so there's often a period of up to 6 months where it's only available as a rental title. then it becomes a subscription if the distributor likes subscription options. Some distributors never go to subscription. So we have about 6 titles that are rental only. New releases start as a rental. But like, for example, for Rainbow's End, we were able to offer a 50% discount on the rental to our subscribers. So we can be clever in ways we can access films in that sense. But subscription is what everyone's used to now, isn't it? It's like Netflix, you know. I mean, we are a lesbian Netflix and everyone's used to that model. It just goes out your bank, you don't notice. It's less than a price of an expensive coffee and you get a lot more entertainment for your money. So hopefully people see that that's, you know, it's a good value for money. And, you know, we're sending that money straight back to those creators, and we're already seeing those creators making more films. So and we're still relatively small, we're still growing, but the more subscribers we have, the bigger the audience, the more impact we can have. So it's really exciting every day, just seeing what we can do next.
Yeah, you must remember that you only started this in March 2019, like seriously, and you have already
all concept of time because of the pandemic. What day is it? What month is it? What year are we in now? I mean,
who knows? It's anyone's guess.
I think because last 12 months just feels like 10 years to everyone. So, but it has only been a very short time since we started this amazing platform.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll definitely be pushing it around, making people to subscribe and support, because I think it's a fantastic thing.
Well, going back, isn't it? Putting that money back into the industry, we're going to see better quality films. And also, I see you've got something as well where like maybe directors and producers and stuff can talk to each other as well. Actually,
yeah, we're working as well at kind of trying to connecting audience is one thing, but connecting filmmakers as well. We've tried to look at all of the issues, all the problems, all the barriers, and then seeing where we can help make things a bit easier. So yeah, we're trying to connect filmmakers. We're putting together databases so they can find each other more easily, things like music as well, because the soundtrack to film is so important. And we realized there's no LGBT music networks, and so when a filmmaker's looking for music for their film, they're going on Facebook and asking you what you listen to, but when you answer Tegan and Sarah, they're like, oh, I can't afford that. Saying that though, Emily Al-Fadley, The Date You Watch, she's just finished filming a new short film called From A to Q. I was an extra in that, which is very exciting. I'm really trying to get back into film, so it was very fun. I played a teacher though. I'm not sure I'm very teacher-like, but it was fun to do. She in her head pictured a certain scene in that film with a Taylor Swift song. So she went out and she asked, and she got a Taylor Swift song. But it's only going to be in there for the film festival. So if you want to see that film with its original soundtrack, you've got to see it in a film festival. But you know, it does show if you go out and ask, you can get things, but you just need those connections as well. And there's lots of really talented lesbian, bi, queer, LGBT musicians, and I'm just hoping we can connect them as well, because again, then you've got that collaboration happening, and it's good for musicians to have their music featured as well. It gives them longevity, and so yeah, just things like that. Really, we're just trying to just do what we can to really build that community. It's a global community, and we want them to share their experiences, so that they don't make the same mistakes over and over again, because there's things you can learn to make things easier, and to make just a bit kind of a better experience. So we want to empower filmmakers to share their experiences with each other, and that will also help improve the budgets, the timelines, and everything like that. So,
you know, I think sorry, darling.
That's all right, carry on.
As much as the last 12 months have been really tough, I think it's been brilliant in a way of connecting with people, like us connecting with you, and you know, us connecting with other people, and you connecting with everyone around the world doing films and stuff. I mean, I think in that respect it has been really good. We were saying earlier about not enough representation in lesbian movies for sports lesbians. I mean, we are very keen tennis players. I mean, if you're ever looking for 2 lesbians in a film, short film, long film, whatever you want.
So there's a couple of films. I have to dig them out. There's one that was on the festival circuit last year, and I haven't heard where it's got to yet, called The Sympathy Card, and on that they play sport. I'll have to think. There's a few, but again, that's an independent film. It's been on the film festival circuit. I haven't seen it mentioned anywhere, so you just won't know it exists. Exactly. But there's a couple of others as well I've seen coming through. But yeah, they're just all the different genres. Everyone kind of goes to the traditional drama. Again, though, I think it's a lot cheaper to have one set, one room, have the actor not moving too much. You know, that's the challenge. As soon as you've got people running around a field, you need different cameras, much better equipment. You've got to hire locations. You got the weather. I mean, that's not so much. In the US, that's a lot easier. If you're filming in California, I think you'll be all right. But in the UK, outdoor. Yeah.
We might have to minimize it to table tennis, then that's a bit smaller.
Table tennis, yeah.
I don't think there's ever been a movie about table tennis. I'm sure there has been actually, but maybe not one in the mainstream.
They're very good at that too.
Yeah. So this year going forward, are you looking like, I'm not sure, are the festivals, I suppose, we're not sure whether they're going to happen. Are they going to be online?
It's a mixture. So some film festivals have managed to go online. They're quite often geo-blocked to their location. There's over 250 LGBT film festivals around the world right now.
Wow.
We've just finished putting together some data about where they all are, when they all are. We're still trying to work out which ones are running. Some have gone digital, some just can't afford to. You know, a lot of them are volunteer run, part-time. Even BFI Flair, their team comes together for BFI Flair for a period of like 4 weeks, you know, a week either side, and then they disband again. Like, it's amazing how these film festivals are put together. They're struggling as much as the filmmakers are in a way, but they obviously do a really big, you know, important job of signposting. So BFI Flair this year's in a much better position. It went online. Last year they were really stuck. Like, we went into lockdown in the UK on the 23rd of March, and BFI Flair was literally like on, and he struggled, and they managed to put it across, but they couldn't get everything online because obviously getting the rights and getting it all turned around, having the platform in place, they were really kind of the first casualty last year. It was a real shame. This year they've had a year's notice, and I think they realized very quickly that it was going to be exactly the same problem. They're right on the cusp of, are we in or are we out? And so they just went digital. So all their films are going to be online. They've got a much bigger selection and stuff, and that's really good. But other festivals, it's just keeping an eye out really on their websites. We've pulled together a database. We're watching them. We're going to start reaching out to them as well, because we want film festivals to have a permanent place as well. They're really important for visibility. So we've launched a film festival channel. And any films we have, if we've got that film festival channel on there as well, we basically match them up. So you can start to see what films are showing at film festivals and learn about new film festivals. So we've already got L-Fest that we program, and we've now got Cinema Sisters. So if you want to go to a lesbian film festival in the US, they've got a US one called Cinema Sisters. So they're on there already. And we're hoping to add more film festival channels and work more with film festivals, because that's where the films kind of get their first outing really, and some of those films don't get distribution, so if you don't see them at a film festival, you might never get to see them, sadly.
And it doesn't mean that they're not worthy or they're not good and someone's not going to love them, does it?
No. Carmen and Lola was at BFI Flair in 2015. Great film. Spanish gypsies, really, really good. They were brand new. They weren't actors, they were actually gypsies in the community. Don't bother writing it down. No UK distributor. It's stuck with the sales agent.
That's so unfair.
Write it down there. We'll find it.
It's just nice to know about some different names, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so frustrating because I'm just like, it's a good film, but yeah, if a distributor doesn't want to spend the money, then if they don't think they can get it to the audience, they won't take it, and it just sits on a shelf.
Yeah. So what you're doing is absolutely fantastic, isn't it? Because more people are getting to see these movies. You know, they find out about these festivals. They can go and actually put their bum on a seat, basically, and actually show that there is an audience, and it's got to be a good thing for the future.
Yeah, definitely.
I've noticed you're very inclusive as well. There's been subtitles in different languages added.
We're working on it. It's really hard. Most lesbian films don't even have English subtitles, so it's a slow process. But we've got a team of translators, and I should actually say, just generally in LesFlicks, beginning of the pandemic, it was me and a couple of people doing face-to-face. Overnight, went online. A lot of those volunteers were like care workers. They, you know, had roles that they didn't want to do online. We've now got a team of 40 volunteers behind the scenes.
Wow.
Amazing women who don't look scared when I say, oh, I've had another idea, or we're going to do this week. You know, they're fully behind me because they love what we're doing as well. I couldn't do it without them, I must admit. Like, it takes an army to do something like this.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
We also looking to expand our Pride in Surrey team because it's got so big over the last 12 months. We've been working so hard. And then we're still,
it's lovely to share the load as well, isn't it? But also bring more people in that actually are part of the community and want to help and spread that word.
Everyone has different ideas, suggestions, outlooks. They bring a different perspective to what you're doing, and a different set of energy as well. So
very important.
So I think before we let you go, we've got to know how to find you. Like, where are you? Where can people find out about you?
All over social. It's at LesFlicks on most social media. We have just launched a specific events Instagram because we're doing so many events. That's now at LesFlicks_events, and that's because of the pandemic. We've wanted to really reduce that social isolation. So we're doing like 5 events a week some weeks. I think we've got 3 events today. That's ridiculous. But yeah, so social media, we've got a Facebook page, Facebook group for women to chat about film in a safe space. We've got Instagram, Twitter. There's TikTok started up, but it's still a little bit slow starting that one up. But yeah, YouTube, and obviously the video on demand platform, which is just lesflicksvod.com. And the website, which is where we have articles, reviews and information, is just lesflicks.com.
Fantastic. And I think you can sign up to a newsletter and stuff, can't you? So come straight
we have a newsletter. So lots of ways to keep in touch.
Wow, so much information. That was really interesting. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me on, and I really hope to get to come to Surrey Pride and get to be in person. I mean, that was the hope, to do screenings at Pride events, and I hope we can do that and find a cinema near your Pride and maybe make it an extra day and put a lesbian film screening alongside. Oh
my God, that'd be amazing. Absolutely amazing. Keep an eye on our socials, keep in touch. We'll definitely be keeping an eye on you. I really learned a lot from you today, and 2 important things actually. You sleep when you're dead, and also talking to myself a bit more for ideas. So I do love that. I do. Thank you.
Oh, fantastic!
That wisdom.
You take away one thing.
But yeah, no, honestly, thank you so much for joining us. It has been incredible, and we are so glad we could speak to you about this, because what you have achieved is absolutely incredible.
Thank you. I mean, I couldn't do it without the filmmakers and the audience. I mean, they're the important part. I just bring it all together.
I say it's just having that platform, isn't it, to bring all those people together. So we need you.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us. We will see you very soon.
Thank you very much. Bye.
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 I'm Zoe Lyons. Sometimes it's easier just to text. Text TALK to 88440. You're not alone.